Here we go.
Hey guys, Brando and Nate here back for Journey in the Comic Reacts, and tonight we're reacting to the Walking Dead season finale.
It was really dark.
It was pretty dark. Now, the first thing I want to touch on is that there was kind of rumblings that people were going to be really mad.
I don't think I'm mad.
I don't think I was either, because what Norman Reedus said is going to make people like scream at their televisions and everything.
It was a tearjerker. I heard that.
Okay.
I also heard Michael Cudlitz, that's the guy that plays Abraham, he said that it would piss people off. I don't feel any of these emotions, and I definitely didn't cry at the end of the episode or any moments in the episode. Was it suspenseful? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did it leave me wanting more? Yes, actually.
We finally, but to get into this, we finally got a payoff for all the Morgan teasers.
For what, 4 seasons now?
Well,
into, I mean, he's been sprinkled out throughout, so now he's finally what seems to be joining the group.
Well, see, he was in the first season, very first episode.
Yep.
He was in season 3.
Uh-huh.
And then he was in the beginning of this season, the mid-season finale.
And now the finale.
And now the finale, except he had a little bit more screen time in this one.
I mean, he opened the show.
He did.
And he was a Ninja Turtle. Better stop poking him, because he kicked lots of ass with his bow staff.
He does, man.
He was sitting down, and what it started, it seemed like he was having just a meal to himself, just enjoying the thing. And then we pan out to see someone with a W on their forehead pointing a gun at him.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, oh, well, this might be it for our friend Morgan. But then he, again, showed off his Ninja Turtle skills and kicked his ass and another dude's ass, and they took off.
Actually, they didn't take off. He put them in the car.
That's right.
And left them for safety, because now Morgan seems to have it together, which in season 3 he really didn't.
No, he was broken over the loss of his son.
Yeah, he's definitely changed who he is, which is funny because that's going to kind of go along with what happens at the end of this episode. There's a lot of change here. There really is. But I've got more notes, just like in my last React video. I got them on my phone. I was taking them all throughout the episode.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it too.
And of course, as we said, the lucky rabbit's foot.
That was pretty cool. That he puts them in the car, and then he went back. And he looks at it and he goes, yeah, and he pulls it off the rear view mirror.
And also, it's just, I want to talk about the letters on the foreheads, because that was something that we've been seeing pretty much ever since the group got to this area. And it's also, does this tie into like the torsos with the arms and legs?
It very well could. They were tied to the trees.
Mm-hmm. And also inside that truck.
Yeah.
Okay, so that also could come into it. But I have written down here, Creepy Carol is creepy.
She is kind of a badass though. She pulls a knife on Pete.
Yeah.
And says, I could kill you right now and no one would be any wiser because I'm innocent and you beat women.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, you don't, but...
Oh, well, no. Obviously, no.
But, she puts the knife to his chin,
mm-hmm.
and she sliced him a little bit, and I was just like, okay, Creepy Carol is very creepy.
Oh yeah, she's definitely mastered the art of like pretending, putting on a certain face.
She's almost a master manipulator.
Mm-hmm. I also have down here, Trappy Trap is trappy.
Trappy Trap is trappy. This episode was interesting because we had a bunch of pocket stories.
We did.
That were happening very quickly. So Aaron and Daryl are out scavenging, hopefully looking to find someone. They stumble upon a Del Arroyo or something to that nature, food store.
Is a food store.
And they assume that there are 4 food trucks that have a lot of produce, or not necessarily produce, but more like canned goods, things that would stay good throughout the apocalypse. And they walk into a walker trap.
Yes. And this trap, it's funny because the 2 guys from the start of the episode
With Morgan.
Did one of them say something? The guy was talking to him. Did he say something that we have traps, or? That was mentioned before that, right?
I think so. Yeah.
But one thing I did notice is that it was there was a note inside the car.
Oh,
because Norman Reedus, Daryl, and then Aaron. I almost called him Aiden, but that's another guy. But Daryl and Aaron they found refuge outside this car because they set up this trap and they were just trailers full of walkers. It was a horde.
It would have been a horde. Yeah.
Yes. And basically, okay, so we have them stuck in a car. We real no way to get out.
No, and that was a really kind of emotional scene, seemingly, because Daryl saying, I'm the stronger one. I'll let you live, Aaron. I'll sacrifice myself. And then Aaron, of course, says, Daryl, no, we can't do it that way. We can't give up on each other.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention is there was a note, and the note said, trap, bad people are coming.
Yes.
Don't stay.
Don't stay. See, and so was that just from the other people
who must have been trapped, and then that was probably part of the message was written in blood, so I'm assuming as they were in the process of dying by these walkers or the people who we come to learn about a little bit later, they wrote out their final note to warn someone who else would be in the car to get out. So Daryl and Aaron hightail it out of the car. Well, they're planning to on a 3 count. And then Morgan comes and kicks lots of Walker ass.
Ninja Turtle shows back up.
He does. That is so Bo staff. I mean, it's excellent. But he saves the day. They shut the gates and offer him refuge with the Alexandria group. To where Morgan goes, no, I'm looking for someone else. And maybe you can help me. And hands him the map that Abraham dropped all the way back right after Terminus. And it says, Abraham wrote the note, the new world is going to need Rick Grimes. And at that moment, Morgan realizes these people can get him to Rick. And then we don't see them the rest of the episode, essentially.
Because this episode was 90 minutes. And as Nate said, there's small stories scattered throughout. So there's a story that we haven't touched on yet, and that's the story between Glenn and Nicholas.
Glenn and Nicholas has been brewing since they got to Alexandria.
Pretty much, yes.
And then with what happened to Noah, being 100% Nicholas's fault, and then last week, Glenn essentially threatened him and said, you're not to ever go outside of these walls, and said, I'm saving you right now. I'm saving you, and you're gonna listen. So Nicholas is going over the walls of Alexandria.
Yeah.
Glenn sees him and makes a beeline. Oh, hell no, you're not getting away from me this time. It was, again, a trappy trap is a trap.
Yes.
Because while Glenn is in the woods searching for Nicholas, Nicholas pops out of nowhere and shoots Glenn in the shoulder. And then Glenn is magically disappeared. He moved very quickly.
Well, the walkers came in on them, and it sort of seemed like, is that for Glenn? Of course, and it cuts it. But obviously, Glenn is pretty slippy. He's proven that all throughout the series.
Yeah.
But there's another story going on here as well with Father Gabriel.
And Father Gabriel, is well beyond his crisis of faith. He is at all hope is lost. There is no out for me, and there's no way for me to accomplish anything that I thought I could accomplish.
Yeah.
I think that there was a really brilliant scene in this episode where Father Gabriel ventures outside of the Alexandria walls with nothing but the power of God, as he says. And he ends up killing a walker, and then
The walker's victim.
Who
hadn't turned yet.
No, he hadn't turned yet, but it was going to get nasty. So he said, but the part of that scene that sold it for me was the collapse and breakdown of Gabriel in the street. He just weeps on the ground.
Yes.
But Father Gabriel, when he comes back to Alexandria, he's like a whole different person.
He's hollow.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. He has nothing and he doesn't care. And someone asks, I need someone to talk to. Can I talk to you? And he says, we'll see. And then just walks away from him.
And also, that same character, he was guarding the gate. And then that character asked Gabriel to close the gate. And he did haphazardly. Didn't close it, or he didn't lock it.
But it also bounced back open.
It bounced back open, so it was wide open. Now, there's also another small little story that happened, and I'm glad they kind of came back to this just for the season finale, and that is the apology. The apology of Eugene to Abraham for lying about everything.
And then also the apology of Abraham to Eugene for nearly killing him.
Exactly. I really enjoyed that. It was something small. I'm glad they put that in. Now, this whole episode, what they've been teasing is there's going to be a big kind of a town meeting for the citizens of Alexandria.
A forum.
A forum. Yeah, a public forum, if you will. And they're going to discuss what happened in the prior episode with Rick and Pete going at it, and then ultimately Rick pulling a gun and pointing it at people.
You talking about me?
Talking about me?
You talking about me?
He always points his gun weird.
I know, that's crazy.
So,
and squints. He does the squint.
so they're gonna have this meeting, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody shows up to this meeting, and there's gonna be certain people that they will. Of course, Rick should be there. Gabriel should probably be there. You know,
Deanna needs to be there, which of course she's the one that's holding the meeting. So,
yeah. But there's certain people missing: Rick, Glenn, Gabriel, Sasha,
Nicholas,
of course, because they're outside, kind of fighting it up.
Aaron and Daryl are also missing.
Oh, yep, they're missing because they went off on their venture. They're on their way back with Morgan.
Yes, that they would be on their way back with Morgan, and the town meeting has started, and everyone's in Rick's group is kind of going around and saying their piece, and it's all about safety, and everyone's kind of reiterating that Rick is the best of people, and he has the best of intentions, and he's just trying to save everyone. And he's a father, and he has a family, and he wants his family to live. I don't really remember the quote so well, but I think Abraham's quote was the funniest of the episode, maybe the funniest of the season, because he said, "There's a lot of shit you guys don't know shit about that Rick does," or something to that effect.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That his piece was very small.
Yeah,
I like that. Everybody was sort of like pretty much defending him, but not in the way that like you would be like, "Come on, give the guy a second chance." They're like, "Look." They're breaking it down. On both sides. Yes, he is this way, but he's alive for a reason.
Exactly, and he's seen things that no one else could understand.
Now, there's something else going on in this episode, and that's a weird little short side story that's been a culmination of the past episode with Sasha.
Sasha has been beyond her breaking point. First she lost Bob, then she lost Tyrese, and she doesn't feel like she needs to live unless her only purpose for living is killing the walkers. And earlier in this episode, in a little couple second cutaway, she's dragging a body to a place where I'm assuming they probably burn the walkers, and she laid in the walkers. And it was very, I'm big into the cinematography of things, and how they shot that scene was very Walter White in the episode where Skylar gives away all the money.
On that, and also
and then at the end.
finale. Yeah.
So she's just like kind of laying there like, I'm in these walkers, this is great.
Okay, so then she meets up, she's in Gabriel's little chapel, church, and Gabriel's just got back in, and she wants help. She doesn't want to die. She wants Gabriel to see, to help him. And of course now, this is the worst time to ask him for help, because he's completely dead inside.
And hollow and has no want or reason to live. And she asks for help. Will you help me? I don't know why or if I should be alive.
Yeah.
And can you help me? And he just says, no. But then he did something I wasn't expecting. He starts blaming her for both Tyrese and Bob's deaths.
Yes, and that doesn't really sit well with her.
No.
They start kind of scrapping and going at it.
And her gun goes off. But luckily no one was shot. It went through the window.
And of course it has this little silencer on it as well.
Yeah.
Now, let's go back to the meeting, because that's when Deanna confesses to the group that Father Gabriel came and discussed with her that Rick's group is not fit for this place. It's not right for it. Don't trust them.
They're the epitome of evil.
They are. And of course, Maggie heard that.
Oh, did she?
She heard it. She doesn't let them know she heard it because Gabriel's not there. So she goes to get Gabriel. Right?
And I think it was, what is her name? Pete's wife. The one, Jessie. She says, well, Gabriel's not here. You're saying something that he said.
Yeah.
How do we know he, said it? Did you record it? And I thought that was classic because she didn't.
No.
And that's very Deanna. She always has got the camera on so she can document everything and go back through and evaluate a person's psyche and their mannerisms and how they talk and act and react.
So, going back to that gate that's open, Rick is supposed to be at this meeting and he's not. He found the gate open
But not only did he find the gate open, he found blood.
Flesh and blood. Then these walkers are in here, or you would think. I didn't know there was that many, but there was a few, and he found them and took care of them basically.
He Rick Grimes them.
He Rick Grimed them.
Yeah, absolutely. Killed them all in a very. He keeps pressing this gun in and in and into this walker, and at first I asked you while we were watching. I'm like, what has he got? And you said, well, it's the gun. And did he pull the trigger?
He pulled the trigger and all that stuff.
Exploded onto Rick's face.
Yeah.
It was very gross.
So actually, one of the last shots we see is Glenn helping Nicholas back to camp.
Yeah, which was really good of Glenn. It's showing that he is the pure person that he's always showed to be through the entire series. He's not the guy that's going to pull the trigger. He's not crazy. He's not psychotic. He's a very calm, level-headed individual. He took out a lot of frustration on Nicholas. And a lot of that was frustration over Noah. It wasn't even over the fact he got shot by Nicholas.
Right?
You know?
I mean, he didn't even mention that.
No. It was all in the moment, you know?
Yeah.
So
then we gotta go back, because this shows...
It jumped around.
This episode jumping around. So Sasha and Gabriel going at it. Sasha gets the upper hand. She's got her gun. Gabriel's like asking for it, right?
Yeah.
And then Maggie stops her. She shows up because she's coming to get Gabriel. She stops. And then Father Gabriel again breaks down.
Over the people that he
locked
down at the original church where the group found him.
Yeah.
So he's not over that.
No.
And it's been messing with him a lot more than he's even let on through this entire series.
Right.
So that was a pretty intense turn for him to just, because I was like, why is he going off the deep end? And then for him to admit that, it was like, oh yeah, that thing that we thought that you were okay with. You're not.
Now, the last scene, one of the last scenes that we see for this episode, while Rick's making his speech, someone shows up.
Pete.
With
Michonne's sword.
And he's ranting and raving saying he's not one of us.
Again, this is Pete being a drunkard, and he's running his mouth. But this time, instead of a gun or anything, or his fist, he's got a ninja sword, okay, a katana.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I don't just go flailing katanas around.
No.
Because people's throats could easily get slit. Which...
They were trying to hold him back, and Deanna's husband.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean...
So his throat is slit. Abraham takes down Pete. Of course, everyone's looking around like, oh my God, what just happened? And then, while her husband's like bleeding out and dying.
In her arms.
You know, there's Pete still ranting and raving as he's on the ground.
And a calm goes over Deanna. She looks Rick dead in the face, and she just goes, do it. And to that, Rick calmly walks over.
No hesitation, just
boom.
Bam.
Kills Pete. However,
look who just showed up!
It's Morgan and Daryl and Aaron, who just watched Rick execute Pete. And here's the thing that is really crazy about that. Daryl and Aaron don't know anything that's happened because they've been gone the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know why Rick just did this.
Yes, and then here's, the newly found sound mind. He appreciates human life. He saved those 1-2 guys who are seemingly pretty bad people.
Yeah.
And there he sees Rick, the guy he's been looking for, execute somebody. He doesn't know the terms or anything like that, but it seems like it doesn't not gonna matter to him because he's almost like a monk or something like that. He's very peacekeeping now.
Yeah. So we roll credits. Wait a minute, because after the credits, we start off with one scene. One thing we didn't actually tie up before that is another little. Remember, people, this episode jumps around. The leaders of the wolves, which they admit to being called, rallying and bringing all of their walkers back into this trap. And what was most interesting, there was a guy that Aaron and Daryl were
tracking.
And Aaron gives up and says, nah, we should just not worry about this guy. He probably isn't, right for the group. And those two, the wolf leaders, have this guy and they slit his throat as well. And then calmly put the trap back together and something bad is hopefully going to happen.
Well, I mean, then this is something that we've seen pretty much, I think, since the first episode of this second half of the season. Because there was even markings at that gated community that they went to in that first episode about the wolves.
True.
You know, so that same phrase was written in a car. The wolves are not far.
Wolves not far,
Yeah.
but we have to get to that point because before that even happened, Michonne is standing in front of her fireplace.
Oh, yes, I almost forgot about this.
And she is almost paying tribute to her sword, I feel. She's sitting there in her own thoughts, and she's going to put the sword that has been in storage, locked up, on the mantelpiece above her fireplace.
It wasn't really locked, but it was just placed inside the locked home, I guess.
Well, I'm saying they couldn't get to the weapons, so, she didn't have access to her sword, and she has her katana now, and she goes to put it above the fireplace, and then she realizes, no, I missed this. And she puts it in her hilt and throws it over her shoulder to where she instantly breathes a sigh of relief. She feels at peace now in the community.
Which is, I like that because that was a nice touch from the comics as well.
It was like almost panel for panel of the comics,
almost,
which is
yeah.
great. And then we get back to, again, the wolves. We just see now that they've closed the food trucks that are walker traps for whoever's next. And there's the poncho guy who's now a walker roaming the outside of the area. And the car that Daryl and Aaron were trapped in now has paint, spray paint, some kind of paint that is written out, as we said, wolves not far. And that was, as far as we know, the end of the episode, right?
Well, right, because my DVR kind of shut off right as it kind of panned past that, and we thought, hey, it'll be on Talking Dead but it wasn't. So
Yeah, it didn't work.
if there's anything past the camera pan, let us know in the comments, please, because I didn't see it.
Where are the comments? Below, where they can also subscribe.
Oh man, you're plugging.
I'm trying.
You're plugging. Anyway, yeah, I think that's gonna wrap it up, guys. I really like this episode. I didn't really feel bad about it, really. I mean, I'm really intrigued in how they're gonna put Morgan in with the next season, because now he's gonna be a regular. Because I noticed in the beginning of the show, his name was in the credits
Officially.
so he's gonna be a full-time, at least, cast member.
So one thing in closing here that I thought was interesting is we didn't have a major character death in the finale.
Yeah.
Granted, we had some support characters that went down. I believe a lot of that was the fact that we had so many major character deaths in this season alone. I mean, the mid-season finale we lose Beth, the mid-season premiere we lose Tyrese. Those are really big, heavy-hitting deaths. We lost Bob in the middle of the first half of the season, so a lot of big characters were getting the axe. To see that it wasn't a big character this time, and it was some support people that are really setting these deep-seated stories. Season 6 is months away. They've already started filming, I do believe.
Yeah.
And it's probably gonna...
It'll be interesting.
This was maybe the best season of The Walking Dead so far.
It's up there. I personally feel that maybe season 4 is the best. This is up there because there was a lot of lull time, but it was needed lull time because they needed that sense.
But I mean, this
sense of
season
security.
they were moving forward.
Yes.
I mean, Terminus, leave Terminus, start to Washington, or Washington, get to Alexandria. I was. There was a big A in my head, and it's like you can't remember what it's called.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, there's a lot of progress. So they move quick.
They did, and we'll see where season 6 goes. Now, do you think we see Negan at the end or middle of season 6?
I'm not really too sure because with how they do it, they could prop him in because they've almost made it to where the first half of the season is like kind of its own thing, and then the second half is its own thing. They've started that trend with season 4, and they kind of kept it with this one as well.
Yes, they did.
So we're gonna just have to see how that pans out with where Negan, because he's coming.
We just don't know when.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, guys, I think that's gonna wrap it up for me and Nate right here on the Journey to Comics YouTube channel. Please check us out on all our other social media: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube.
We just released a podcast.
We did. It's up, man. It's the Nerds of the Round Table.
It was a great 2-hour discussion.
Oh man, we all had topics.
A lot of different things to talk about. Video games, comics, movies, the whole lines. We did a superhero draft. So check that out. Probably put the link below.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have all those links listed down below. So please, guys, go check that out. You can get the podcast on iTunes, on Podbean.com.
Yeah.
journeyintocomics.podbean.com. Forgive me, guys. It's late.
It is late.
It's late, so I'm surprised that we're even still standing right now.
Doing pretty well.
But we're gonna go to sleep.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Nate. This is Brando. Thank you for checking out our Walking Dead reaction. We'll be doing more of these videos. Make sure to subscribe below. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace, guys.